Okay, last problem. So this is a baseball problem. And our goal here, in the diagram here, I've got kind of an odd-shaped baseball field because the distance from home to first base is 85 feet, which is not normal. Maybe it's a wiffle ball or something, who knows. But anyways, so we're going to go ahead and try to figure out the distance from the pitcher's mound to first base. So I'm basically looking for little c here. And I notice I'll go ahead and fill some things in here. I've got, this is going to be little b because it's opposite of big B. And this will be little a here because it's opposite of little a. So we'll go ahead and put a little a right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull my law of cosines up here because there's 3 different formulas and I have to decide which is the best. So I do know big C here, and I'm looking for little c. So the best formula here is the only one that has a big C in it. So I'm going to go ahead and start filling out this information. So c squared equals, and then I just slowly but surely plug the appropriate number in the appropriate spot. I know the constants that never change are going to be like this. It's always plus, it's always big cosine. And then I know out here this is going to be 45 degrees. And a goes in the a spot, so 45.5 squared. B goes in the b spot, 85 squared. And then it's -2 times ab, so 45.5 goes here, 85 goes here. And then last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this right now. I'm going to get rid of this squared. And the opposite of squaring something is square rooting. So I just have to make sure I do one huge square root. Now, if I type it in the calculator all at once, the calculator is going to incorporate some parentheses. It's going to force a parenthesis on me here, so I need to close it. It's also going to force a parenthesis behind the word, or next to the word cosine, so I need to close it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open my calculator, and then I'll type it in. Okay, to save time, I went ahead and just typed that all in my calculator in one shot. So it looks like this. I hit enter. I make sure I'm in degree mode. My problem does say round to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to round to 1 decimal place this time. So little c is approximately equal to 61.9 degrees. And there's my answer for little c. And in fact, I'll go ahead and put that on my problem here. So 61.9. And this is in feet. Okay, the next thing they asked me is to find the angle when I turn from the pitching mound to first base. So I'm basically looking for angle B here. What is angle B? And I'm going to incorporate the law of cosines again just to make sure I get a correct answer. I could use the law of sines, but anytime I use the law of sines, it automatically wants to go to acute angles, and this is not an acute angle. So I'm going to use this part, okay? And I'm going to plug everything I know into the appropriate spot. So I know B this time, so B is 85. And again, this is the second part to the problem. I get 85 squared equals, and A squared I know. So A is 45.5 squared plus, I just figured out C squared, so I'll go ahead and use that rounded answer. Even though I don't like using rounded answer, sometimes it's necessary. I'll go ahead and plug in, and then I know it's cosine of big B. And I'll plug 45.5 goes here, and 61.9 goes here. Okay, I got to do some algebra. My goal is to get this b by itself. And in fact, I'm going to start off by trying to get cosine of b by itself. That means all of this stuff has to go to the other side. Okay, a couple ways I do that. Number one, I'm going to start by subtracting. I'm going to subtract this and this since they're being added to my problem. So if I subtract them from the right side, they go away. So far, what I have is 85 squared minus 45.5 squared minus 61.9 quantity squared. And all of that equals this, 45.5 times 61.9 cosine of big B. And you could turn those into whole numbers if you wish. You don't have to, but that is an option. At this point, again, I notice all of this stuff is being multiplied by cosine of B. And a lot of times people want to try to add at this point because they see this negative. But the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I need to divide by all of this. And whatever I do on one side of the equation, I must do on the other. So I'll do the same thing over here on the right. Excuse me, the left. This is going to go away, this is going to go away, this is going to go away. And all of this stuff, whatever it turns out to be, is cosine of B. Okay, the next problem. I'm going to go ahead and use my calculator at this point. I will have to group everything in the numerator since there's a lot, and I'll have to group everything in the denominator since there's a lot. And I'm going to go ahead and type that in my calculator. And I get something that looks like this. I go ahead and hit enter. And I'm going to pull it down. Now, this is not my angle measure. My angle measure is not negative 0.235. That's way too small. That's a fraction of a degree. Okay? So what I am going to do is I need to get rid of this cosine here. And you'll remember the opposite of cosine is cosine inverse. So cosine inverse of this number, and this goes away. So now I do second cosine of my last answer, and I get 103.6. And I believe they want us to round to the nearest tenth, but I'll double check again. So looking at the top, it says round to the nearest tenth. And my final answer here would be big B equals 103.6 degrees. So here are my answers. Part B of the problem.